Welcome to episode 2 of the Influencer Cafe. On this episode, I speak with Michael Fairley, the creator of Deku Deals. We speak all about how the website got started, where all the cool features and functions come from, Michael's background as a software developer, and much, much more. Alright, so Michael, thank you so much for coming in and doing this episode. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, no worries. So, just to kick it off, very hard question. Who are you, and what do you do?
I am Michael Fairley. I don't know if there's any who am I other than that, except that I run a website called Deku Deals. That is primarily a Nintendo Switch deals tracking website. People come and make wish lists of the Nintendo Switch games they want, and if it goes on sale on the eShop or at any of the major retailers around, I shoot you in and we'll let you know if the game's on sale.
That's fantastic. I love that. So where are you based out of? You based out of the US? You based out of where you based out of?
Yeah, I live in Seattle.
That's awesome.
Which is newish to me as of a few years ago.
Nice.
I've really been enjoying it.
That's awesome. I love that. So the next question was going to be, how do you pronounce the name of the tree your website's based on? You said Deku. Is that correct?
So
yes.
I first played Ocarina of Time when I was in the 3rd grade, and I always pronounced the tree the Deku tree.
Okay.
And I didn't know any better. And when I started this website, I called it Deku Deals for the longest time.
Okay.
And enough people have pronounced it Deku back at me. And then in Breath of the Wild, there's a little voiceover where the Deku tree says its name very quickly, and it sounds Deku. So I've sort of switched my pronunciation from Deku to Deku over the years.
I love that. Yeah, because I've always pronounced it Deku, to be clear. I've always been like, oh, it's Deku. And I first heard Deku a couple of years ago watching a Zelda randomizer. And I'm like, excuse me? But then like when I sat down and I looked a couple of days ago, I was like, Deku Deals. Oh, that makes so much sense. The E following, Deku Deals. I like it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then a lot of people also say Deku, which I find
nuts.
particularly odd. But yeah, I'm ambivalent between Deku and Deku.
Sure.
Except that more people say Deku. And then when I started the site, I was totally unaware of the My Hero Academia character Deku, who was firmly Deku.
That's fair.
Which I think also influences that.
That's fair. I haven't watched anime since Death Note was relevant, so I can't begin to describe how little I know about that show, but I hear it's quite popular. So
I know even less than you do. So
fantastic.
I need to watch it someday just so I get the reference, because
you really don't.
I get lots of Deku jokes and they fly right over my head.
I love that. That's fantastic. Okay, so Deku, thank God that's finally solved. One more in terms of the Zelda stuff. How do you pronounce the golden bugs that you kill in Ocarina? What are they to you? Because I've heard a couple.
I forget what they're called. I have not played that game in at least 15 years. So I don't pronounce them.
Fair play. I've heard them as like Skulltula or Skulltula or any of those.
Yeah, I think Skulltula is how I pronounced it as a kid, but given that it's Tarantula, I could
Right.
see the second pronunciation.
I was Skulltula.
There too.
Yeah, I was Skulltula firmly, and then I heard Tarantula. I was like, oh, you know what? That tracks. That makes sense. I'm into that. Fair play. Fantastic. So you started Deku Deals. I saw you had an about you page on Deku Deals, as one does. And it was very very informative. Like, you started it because there was really nothing for Switch at that time. So before the Switch, were you like predominantly PC, console, mobile? What kind of gaming did you do? Did you kind of bounce around?
Yeah, I would say over the years I've primarily bounced between PC and the Nintendo consoles.
Okay.
So I owned SNES, N64, GameCube, Wii growing up, and a few of the Game Boy lineages, though never a DS and never the Wii U. And then sort of somewhere in there, I also got into PC gaming as well. So combination of like older Nintendo consoles and PC gaming have been sort of the core of my gaming experience. And Wii was sort of the last console where there wasn't much in terms of digital downloads for games. There was no eShop, none of that. There was the virtual console where you could play some of the older games, but there was no way to buy the big new flashy games as a download. That sort of came along with the Wii U. So I got the Switch, and it was this whole new world of like, oh, you can download console games now. This is interesting.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, no, I know. I think the Wii. I would have been. I was pretty young when the Wii came out. I'll be upfront, very clear. But like, I really like the Wii. I think it's a bad rap. But I didn't really consider. You're right that the online store, the Wii shop, with such a well-known theme, had very little to do with anything besides shovelware or trying to play Kirby's Adventure again. You know.
Yeah. And it even came along later in the console's life cycle, if I remember correctly, or something that was patched in after a few
That
years.
sounds right. That sounds right. I have a somewhere in a closet or in a attic somewhere. I think I have a Scholastic printed Nintendo Wii guide thing I should probably crack out at some point. That sounds like a trip. I don't know if the shop was even in there at the time. That's fantastic. So what made you pick up a Switch?
Uh, my spouse took a job out of the country that was like a 3-month stint, and I couldn't take my gaming PC with me, so I wanted to play video games, and there was basically one choice 4 years ago to do that, which is grab a Switch and take it with you.
Yeah.
Um, so that happened.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's really interesting. I love that. I love the Switch. It's fantastic. So Deku deals right originally started with Switch deals, and there had been a lot of other features added to it. Before we get to said features, I'd love to take a deeper dive into the website itself. I saw you have a bunch of various pieces, such as it's developed in Ruby. You've got Amazon Web Services, Cloudflare, all that stuff. Can you walk me through like how those all work in tandem to create Deku deals and deliver deals right into people's inboxes?
Yeah. I mean, I could spend like literally hours
That's
diagramming all
awesome.
of this out, but sort of at a high level, there's of what I call background jobs, and that's sort of the like industry term of things going on a server somewhere that like there's no real interface to that people see that it is constantly checking the stores for price updates, and whenever it sees that a price has changed, it writes it into the Deku Deals database. Um, and then there's another set of background jobs that, anytime the price changes, it says, this price that changed, like a new deal, and if so, find everyone who has that game on their wish list and shoot them an email. And then sort of separately from that, there's the what you think of as the website. That's a web server that also checks the same database and displays the I was going to say pretty pages, but I don't think of them as particularly pretty. But the nice pages that have all the price and icons and stuff on.
Yeah. I love that. That's awesome. Honestly, I think it's pretty. It gets the job done, shows you what you're looking for, and has a very nice tracker. So that's what you're looking
Yeah,
for.
I describe it as boring in a good way.
Yes.
And I think there's room for some personality in there that I'm hoping to get at some point. But for now, it's boring in a way.
I like that. No, I'm always reminded of late 90s to 2000s web pages, very maximalist, very just every moving icon is like, whoa, look at this thing. And I go, what if we didn't? But what if we did? Yeah.
That was a fun era, though, when there wasn't this, like, very... I don't know, the internet these days has a very sort of... Every website looks exactly the same, almost to a fault.
So scuffed.
So I do have a little bit of nostalgia for the 90s when it was flashing banners and marquee text. And
just everything, just so maximalist. Everything's just flying at you, and every website was a new adventure for your afternoon. Did you get a virus? Maybe, but it was fun. I love it. No, we'll talk about this a little later on, just in the other one. But I really love. I miss things like Stumble Upon and the ability to just like explore the internet outside of just Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Ugh.
Yeah, everything is funneled through the same few channels. For better and for worse.
It's centralized, which is pleasant, but I want more. Yeah, no, I want more of that Wild West, with all the bad it comes with. But it had some fun too. I love that. That's awesome. So, I I consider myself. I don't know what you call your Deku Deals users. I'm a Deku scrub. I'm a firm believer in that. I'm a scrub user of your website, right?
That is a fantastic name.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before.
That's
Like
freebie. You
I'm
take it,
writing
boss.
that down as
You
like
got it,
that should
boss.
maybe become
Yeah, we're all scrubs.
canonical.
I got you, boss. It's all yours. But I noticed that you have a lot of fantastic ways for fellow scrubs like myself to reach out, contact, and suggest features for the website. What are some features, updates, or changes that came from scrubs like myself, not including the name Deku Scrub.
I mean, almost everything. So when the
Okay.
site started, it was literally like a single page with a list of all of the games, and it had like an add to wish list button next to them, and that was basically it. Um, so a lot of things that have come from feature requests are the ability to of games that you own, and not just the games that you want. The price history graph showing what price has this game been? So is this sale a particularly good sale, or is it something that comes along once every month anyways? Um, Related to that, the lowest price ever and matches lowest price badge. That was a user request that was really really good. Um, Lots of minor stuff. So like on your collection, if you scroll to the bottom, it tells you like how much money you've spent in total if you enter that in. There's a lot of people who I get a lot of emails that people are like, oh, I use Deku, but I also have a separate spreadsheet that I track some other info in, and I always want to find a way to like, is there a way to make that spreadsheet obsolete and help people track what they want to track about their games
Nice.
all in the site.
That's really neat. I love that. That's like everything I love about the website. That's fantastic. I'm glad that it's a joint project, right, between you and your users. I think that's awesome.
Big time. Like
Mhm.
the site started out as like exactly what I wanted, and it's still there's a lot of other tangents off of that have made people happy, and so I'm like incredibly thrilled whenever I get feedback that helps me guide how the site gets developed.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you were originally inspired by Is There Any Deal? I've ran across that website every now and again, and almost in opposite of Deku Deals. Every time I look at it, I go, there's so much stuff.
It is not boring in a good way.
Yeah, it's very active in a way that makes you go, am I looking at the stock market? I wish I wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a big tension, and I struggle with this with Deku as well. There's everybody like plays and interacts and wants to buy video games in different ways. Some people like only buy digital copies, and some people only buy physical copies. Some people for is there you want to play on Steam and ignore Epic and GOG and other stores. And so there there's got to be room for customizations to like allow for people's different habits around the way they purchase and play games, and finding out how to like allow that customization without just checkboxes everywhere is really really tough. And I've a little bit erred on the side of like and Tomas from Is There Any Deal on the side of more is better, and like both are valid, and I get the sense that the Is There Any Deal power users like love how many options there are on that site. But I also hear from a lot of people that it's kind of overwhelming if you aren't totally sure what you're looking at.
Yeah. No, that's very true. This kind of came up with what you just said, but do you buy things digitally or physically? I wouldn't have thought to ask, but like, what do you prefer, digital or physical?
I'm mostly ambivalent.
Fair play.
Sort of whatever's cheaper. There's two or three games I made mistakes on. So I bought Smash Ultimate physically, and like that's just like a clear mistake that you don't want to have to put the cartridge in every time you want to play Smash.
Fair.
So I've gotten a little more thoughtful about games. If there's something that you're going to pick up and play for a few minutes every day, like digital absolutely makes sense because you don't want to be swapping that cartridge in and out. But if it's a primarily single player experience that you're going to like play through the whole thing and then put it away for a while, then cartridge is great.
Yeah.
And I'm not really big into like trading in my used game, but
Same.
that's like a big obvious reason to buy full. And then the single player experiences are also great because after you're done with it, you can hand it to a friend.
I love that. Yep.
So like my copy of Metroid Dread and the Link's Awakening remake, I have loaned out to friends right now, and they're enjoying them. I mean that's nice, and you can't quite do that digitally without some weird shenanigans with Nintendo accounts on multiple consoles.
Yeah, I guess Nintendo is pretty difficult with that. That's true. I know with regards to my digital stuff on PlayStation, me and my friends, we typically I have his PlayStation account as my home, and he has his as mine or whatever. And so we can do it that way, but yeah, physical is kind of the way to, if you want to take it, buddy. Yeah. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, it gets complicated when friends live across the country and we're like made up around, or dropping it off on vacation and stuff. So I that copy of Link's Awakening, I don't think I've seen it in like 2 years.
I've
But
been there.
it'll
Yeah,
make it back eventually.
that's my philosophy. Like whatever. It'll come back. Yeah.
I'm not hankering to play it again
Yeah.
immediately.
For sure, yeah. The Sisterhood of the Traveling Link's Awakening. But no, I love that. I think that that's a deep cut. But no, I love that. That's yeah, I didn't expect that one. No, I love that. That's fantastic. I really liked Link's Awakening. I just thinking about it. I just started. I played it. I love Nintendo. I wish their games would go on sale. Thank you, Deku Deals. But the issue is like, if you don't get it for 60, it'll go up to 80 when you don't expect it. So I was waiting forever to buy it. Finally bought it. I'm sad I waited so long. It was fantastic. It was so good.
Yeah, it's really good. 60 was definitely like sort of a big ask for that game.
I feel
like
that.
I paid actually I paid 48 for it because
There you go.
up until 3 years ago, Best Buy had this goofy thing that you could pay $20
I
for a
remember
2 year membership where they would take 20% off all of your games. And so that's also part of why my games physically is like I could buy them launched for 48 in a boxed copy, and that was a decent deal. But they cut that off literally days after I bought into it, so I was one of the last people who after my 2 years was up, it was done and gone.
That's crazy.
So I have Metroid Prime 4 still pre-ordered as $48 through Best Buy, and
One
I
of
hope it'll
these
show up
days.
someday.
Oh yeah, I heard they were redoing that game from scratch. That's tough.
Yeah,
Hopefully
but
it comes out.
they announced that they were redoing it from scratch like 3 or 4 years ago, so it's got to
Wow.
be coming along, and hopefully by this point.
Fingers crossed. I've been waiting for another one for a very hot minute as well. That one will be good. That one will be very good. Awesome. Okay. So a little bit different. Little bit still on the site stuff, but can you tell me what is a general like your most wish listed games or things by companies? Can you tell me that within reason?
I would have to look it up.
Oh, no worries. If that's not if you let me know.
Yeah,
Okay.
let me spend 30 seconds and see if I
Yeah,
can pull
sweet.
something up.
I'm interested. I always like to hear like what people, the masses, are looking at.
So the fun thing is look this up too. On the website, there's a button that says Browse in the top left, and then you click on Most Wanted below that, and it shows the
There you
most wanted
go.
games. It's incredibly unsurprisingly, it's just like all the Nintendo games. Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening,
There it is,
Luigi's
Most
Mansion
Wanted.
3, Mario Odyssey, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Ugh.
And then sort of the indies come after that of like Hades,
Nice.
Hollow Knight, Cuphead.
Yeah.
It's sort of the usual suspects though.
Oh yeah, look at that. Octopath is kind of nuts. I mean, that game is fine, but interesting. Yeah, I have some hot takes on that one. We'll talk about that later. Skyrim being on there is kind of criminal. Who doesn't have a copy
Like
of Skyrim? Yeah.
I think a lot of people who only own Nintendo consoles and like the
Yeah.
Skyrim for Switch has never like been at a great deal, and
Fair play.
I think it has some performance issues, and so it's been sort of a tricky buy for how
That's
popular
true.
of a game it is.
That's true. Yeah, I will say I definitely I really started using Deku Deals when you added in PlayStation and Xbox support, because I mean those are my intrinsic consoles, but I mean I have a Switch. I've been a Nintendo player for my whole since Game Boy Color. So I love them. But it was like they never go on sale. But that's interesting. I reckon your predominant user would be Switch users, hence Deku Deals. Can you give me a
Yeah,
phone?
and part of it is
Yeah.
I started the site as Switch only, and I added PlayStation and Xbox. It's been I guess a year and a half at this point.
Yeah.
And they're still sort of like based on the site. They're still labeled beta because there's some edges here and there that I'm working to get polished out, but I definitely like have the most reputation within the Switch community.
That's true.
Partly because there were somewhere between zero and few Switch price trackers when I came out, whereas PlayStation and Xbox both had some established ones from
Yes. Yeah.
the past. But I've sort of expanded into being the like all console deals tracker these days. Though I still get occasional requests for like, can you add the Wii U before the shop disappears? And it's like, no, I'm not adding the Wii U to the site
Yeah.
this late in the game.
Yeah, you got 2 months.
Yeah. But I bought my first Xbox and PlayStation recently, so I could like understand better, and yeah, it's been I think particularly cool as someone who owns multiple consoles to like have a single place to track all these deals.
Yeah.
And track my collection of. I don't even know which. You don't even know which games you own if you don't have a central database of which games you own.
That's true.
Deku's been helpful for that.
That's awesome.
Though it does a thing about my PC game life.
Sure. Yeah, with PC gaming, it was all pretty. I mean, ever since 2005, it was all on Steam. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a Steam user, or you use like other things? What do you mainly use for PC?
Primarily Steam. I think that's sort of the normal.
Sure.
I claim all of the free games on Epic.
Oh yeah.
I think I've claimed like every single free one since they started doing that, and have a big library there. But yeah, primarily Steam.
That's fair. Yeah, I know. I didn't really. Okay, so I started Steam back with the orange box, like a lot of people. But I never forgot that first day I put the disc in to play Portal, and it goes, download this thing. I never forgot. So every opportunity I get to use something else, I make it a point. I'm a petty guy. Don't get me wrong.
Wow.
I'm
an
so
anti-Steamite, like from the OG days of
I'm
Steam.
so petty. I still have not forgotten. I just want to shoot portals, dang it. But I ended up, I kind of married up to Xbox Game Pass, and the app for PC is fine for me. So, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you own an Xbox, Game Pass
Yeah.
is sort of a no-brainer to be able to play both PC and Xbox, lots of games.
Yep. No, it definitely works. So you mentioned you've just picked up some PlayStation, Xbox consoles. Which one do you use any one more than the other, or is it all pretty what you're looking for depending on the day?
So for my Xbox, I guess I got the Series. So if the game has graphics, I get it for PlayStation, and
Fair play.
if it doesn't, I probably get it for Xbox.
Yeah, I like that. I like the Series S.
It's sort of how I decide what to do there. I actually don't know if I've bought a single game for my Series S because it's sort of a Game Pass machine.
Mm-hmm.
And then the PlayStation is where I buy stuff these days.
Sure.
Depending.
Yeah, PS5's got good exclusives. I'm working through Ragnarok. It's I got takes, but it's fine. Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. I love that. Cool. So I did like when you add in, the Xbox, PlayStation tracking. That made it very, very nice. And also really loved the Game Pass tracking. It let me kind of see, I don't need to buy this. It's on Game Pass, right? Like Moonlighter. I was like, oh, it's on Game Pass? Heck yeah. So I give that a play there. Yeah.
Like when I get an email about like, oh, this game you want is on sale, and it's like, oh, actually, you already have it for free through Game Pass.
Yeah.
Like, just go play it.
It was like, why'd you play it sooner? I go, oh, I should have.
Yeah, I have some plans here to like, send emails when new games get added to Game Pass, so that you get notified about that a little more proactively. But
sure,
that's on the to-do list.
Yeah, that'd be a cool feature. I like that. I love that. So I'd love to shift gears a little bit. Anything else you'd like to add to like Deku Deals as a website? Things you're doing there? Anything you'd like to add there?
Not really. Like it's hard to. I have a to-do list that like if I just like sat down and worked for a decade, I would still be working on it. So it's hard to commit to any single thing as being like top priority or coming. I'm working hard on it, and it's improving every day for the most part.
Yeah, I love that. That's fair. That's fantastic. So for a podcast that's interview based, you do a little snooping. So we do a little snooping. And I saw that you do have a background in software engineering. Makes a lot of sense. You made Deku Deals. But within that, can you tell me a little bit about software engineering? Why'd you get into that? What was the drive to get into that?
My path here is either very strange or very not strange, sort of depending. I've known basically from like a very, very young age that like computer programming and video games are awesome, and like wanted to dedicate my life to that. My mom, still in a box somewhere, has this project I did in second grade that was like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it's a computer pro. So I've been just like on this course a while, and then it like very conveniently when I graduated, that's like one of the best careers to be in. And just like right place, right time, that like my passion and what was sort of like lucrative to be in aligned, and that was good.
Yeah.
And I would say that like I started off particularly in game development, sort of like over the years brought into just like, lots of software engineering is really interesting, and even things that seem like boring things to work on are actually really interesting under the hood, and complex, and like, I don't know, fun to engineer like sophisticated or elegant solutions to how part of the world works.
Yeah.
So a ton of game development, ultimately, but yeah, programming from a young age is what led me here.
That's fantastic. I think that's great. What did you like to make back in the day? Like when you were Even undergrad things like that. Like, what kind of things did you like making on your spare time?
One of the very, very first things I can remember, which was like fourth grade, is when I made this was a database to track my Pokemon cards.
That's awesome.
Which I guess thinking back, that's like very on brand for the Deku Deals
It
guy who's made
definitely
a
tracks.
Pokemon card database. um, it was literally just like a big old screen of every card listed out and had an up arrow and a down arrow to increment how many you own. And it was like that could have just been an Excel spreadsheet, but I made a custom thing for me that kept track of them all. Um, Trying to think of like other notable spare time side project
Yeah,
things. There have been tangents off in every direction of like getting interested in like computational linguistics or computer graphics sorts of things. Sort of been all over the place, which is one of the fun things about software is that um, unlike a lot of hobby or passions or interests is like if there's something new that sparks your interest, you can just download a new tool and start playing with it in minutes
yeah,
for free, which is awesome. And sort of lets you like explore those passions as deeply or as shallowly as you want to, and play around with it for a few minutes and decide, there's better people to deal with this, or actually this is awesome and I want to focusing on this.
yeah. I love that. That's really neat. Yeah, you definitely have a good passion for software engineering. That kind of just making things work for even just yourself, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fantastic. So you got the software engineering. You've made a bunch of various websites, databases, things like that. One thing I did see, and I did check it out. I actually greatly enjoyed it. I did play the Android game Snake's Tale.
Oh, nice.
I think it's fantastic. I've really had a good time with it. I'm always looking for mobile games to do over my work's lunch break, and that one is very nice to just pick at and move and just noodle around for a bit. What inspired that? What made you make that?
I've always been a big puzzle game fan. There's this particular like subgenre of puzzle games that lately has been called thinky puzzle games,
Okay.
sort of as opposed to action puzzle games like Tetris or something,
Yeah.
that are more about, I don't know, a lot, like Sokoban is sort of the like predominant example of this thing of lots of times it's about putting things around on grids or so on. And I've always really liked, that's somewhere I'm like drawn to make games. And I don't remember exactly where the idea for a Snake's Tale came from, but it's clearly derived from that old Rush Hour car game,
Yeah.
um, where you've got these things sort of cramped up together and gotta slide them around to make a way out.
I love that. Yeah. No, I'm always looking for puzzle games. I have a really bad thing where I love playing puzzle games, but I'm so cheap I don't want to buy them. So when somebody's like, check it out, play it, I go sick. So I did. I finally got to like Talos Principle a couple years ago. It was added to Game Pass and all that sort of things. Snake's Tale, I liked it. It reminds me a little bit of like Monument Valley to an extent, where it's just like it's got a nice rhythm to it and it's got a lot of cool things. If you're looking into it, it's quite interesting puzzle wise. I like it a good deal
Thank you.
for sure. Do you have any other like mobile games on the docket, anything like that, or are you not ready to share?
I was working on one, and while I was working on it, the idea for Deku Deals entered my mind, and I've just been like semi-distracted
Yeah,
building this website since then. I would love to get back to making games at some point, but
that's
my
fantastic.
focus these days.
Oh, sure, sure. Now I get that. That's really neat though. I like that. So then I suppose then, what would be your ultimate goal, your Hail Mary, your thing for Deku Deals? What's like the thing you want to see this website do that if it hasn't already done, you'd love to see?
I don't know how to succinctly describe it, but it's like there's so much information about games, and there's a lot of reasons to buy or not buy a game, or to play or not play a game, and I want to help aggregate all of this information and help people, decide where to focus their attention, because there's just so many games these days, and there's so many good games. Like I think if you played video games 24/7, then like games that you would really enjoy are probably faster than you could possibly play through them. Um, and so we're sort of in this problem that's like an amazing problem to have, that there's too many great games. So trying to help people filter down like what do they want to spend their time doing, is ultimately the goal of the site. And I mean, there's a bunch of different that can sort of come into practice. One is that I really hope to get deals on the site, just so that there's a like true integrated. You have your entire gaming library and a list of games you want in one place. But I'd really like to do some things of one feature I really want for myself is like analyze my friends' Steam profiles, find a game that they've all played and loved that I have not played. And if I played it, would bring me closer to my friends. Just because there's a meaningful experience they've had that's sitting right here on my computer or 10 clicks away, and like I could have that experience too and chat with them about it and things like that. So that's just like a small taste of what I want Deku Deals to become in the future.
Yeah, no, I love that. As a brief joke, I suppose, if I looked at all my friends list, I'd all be Dota, and I'd be a really angry person. But I love that. No, I think that's a fantastic goal for it. I'm a social scientist by trade. I got my master's in social science. Like I really love like why do humans do what they do, and what does the data tell you, right, about how people buy, why they buy, what they buy. And more than just that, I think that is an amiable goal to get people better games. Just to find games that they would like. Even better, naturally, is a loaded sentiment. But the idea of finding games that one would like that you may not necessarily catch. I think that's, yeah.
To twist that a little bit, there's lots of smaller games that don't have huge marketing budgets that are games that you might actually like more than the thing that's getting thrust at time. And so being able to surface some of those niche games that would actually like really resonate with you, but you might otherwise not find, is one of the goals for the sites. That there's amazing independent games that for 100 people in the world, this is their favorite game of all time, and I want to help that developer find those 100 people, and those 100 people find that developer in that game, and connect them, and and hopefully help these developers make enough money that they can keep making games as well.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's fantastic. I guess I was looking down, as you mentioned, the way to find games you might like and things like that. I noticed that games have an associated Metacritic to them. Is there any other like metrics you'd like to add to this list to like let people decide if it may be for them or what that vibe looks like?
Yeah, so one thing that I do have on the site that I've done a poor job of surfacing is you can rate a game.
Yeah, I saw that.
There's a little 5-star rating system that doesn't obviously do anything. And so I need to find better ways to like surface that information of like, here's the Deku user score for, and then possibly also like compare the games you've rated against the games other people have rated, and say like, here's the overall user score, but here's a like predicted score for what we think you would rate it if you played this game. And if we predict that you would rate it 2 stars, like skip it, even if it's a good deal. But if we predict that it's worth 5 stars, then like that should probably like bubble up on your radar of things you want to play.
Yeah. I love that. No, that's really cool. I also see that you can split games based on genre, style, developer, publisher, anything like that. What would you like to do with that sort of thing? Would you like to integrate the like star rating into that? Like if you're looking for certain games in your style, like what would you like to see with that kind of aspect?
Yeah, my big plan there that I did done sometime this year is something more like Steam's tag system.
Nice.
So the genre list on those filters are like the genres that Nintendo has on their site that are very limited. It's like there's maybe 20 genres, and it's like the action genre has 2,000 games in it, and the adventure genre has 3,000 games in it, and those don't actually help you filter things down in that meaningful of a way.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to have some sort of like community curated. I would come up with a list of tags or genres that people could vote as being applicable to games, so that Metroidvania or local co-op or things like that would be more discoverable on the site.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I've got a background in rhetoric, so genre as like an identifier is the most useless thing to me. So I love that you like to move more towards tags and get things based on the qualities of it and not necessarily some predefined thing, right?
Yeah, and then there's multiple kinds of qualities of it. There's the what is the moment to moment gameplay, and there's what is the like the aesthetic style of it. both in terms of like, is it 2D or is it 3D, or is it, does it dinosaurs, or is it about rocket ships?
Yeah,
And like some people, like really like a 2D game about rocket ships is what gets them going. And like, I want you to be able to click 2D and rocket ships and like find those games.
that's awesome. I love that. No, what are the more what are the more, I guess, eye-opening, I suppose, videos I saw recently? It was about a year ago, I'd say, but even closer to 2. Man, life is weird. But I don't know if you watch the YouTuber. He's big. Donkey. You familiar with his content?
Yeah,
Yeah.
watching Donkey.
Yeah, I mean, I feel most people have seen Donkey, but I was like, have you? But he did a video on, I think it was Horizon Forbidden West, which would have been last year. But his video on that, I don't know if you saw it, but he
Yeah,
it's good. Like, he goes into why Horizon Forbidden West is the exact same game as Ghost of Tsushima. And as someone who absolutely loved Ghost of Tsushima and absolutely hated Horizon Zero Dawn, he is absolutely correct. They are the exact same game. It just depends on what you're looking for. I don't do dinosaurs. I don't really do sci-fi all that much, but I will role play a samurai all day. Yeah. So I would like to see that kind of minute stuff come into there, because you mentioned dungeon crawlers or things like that. I know for me, one of the identifiers that is completely useless is rogue style or roguelike or roguelite. It doesn't mean anything to me. That could be Binding of Isaac. That could be Moonlighter. Like, and I do like that you'd like to shift more towards, as you said, moment to moment, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and even I mean, there probably will be a roguelike tag just because that's
no, it's fair.
There's some nugget of meaning in there, but then
There is.
being able to apply some other tags alongside that maybe filter down to what you're really looking for.
Yeah. No, I love that. Because, like, roguelike, I know, currently includes Vampire Survivors. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, it is. Every run is discreetly different, but the waves are the same. So how does that differ from, the game, what was that, Crawl or things like that? But I like that. I think that's a really cool goal for Deku Deals. I think that would be a phenomenal feature. I also noticed that it does have the Metacritic for both user rating and critic rating, I suppose.
The critic rating,
I don't know, quotation marks, but critic ratings. Yeah, but I'd love to. Why'd you include both? Was that why'd you do that? I'm interested.
Some combination of the data was there, and some combination of user requests, I think.
Yeah, I like that.
Some people really like the critic rating. Some people really like the user rating as a way to filter things.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's great. Are they available for every game or mostly Switch games? How does that work?
Right now, Metacritic only shows up for games that are on Switch. I'm actually planning on integrating OpenCritic into the site in the next few weeks. This is one of the few things I'll commit to coming soon is OpenCritic on the site, and that will be every platform because they aggregate scores across consoles, whereas Meta divides them up with consoles, and
I like
so it's gotten trickier to pull the data in.
Nice. Yeah, I never heard of OpenCritic till now, candidly. But that's great. Yeah, because I've always been interested with my Metacritic. Does it based on console to console, platform to platform? I know some platforms do have their own issues, with certain games and ports and whatnot. That's cool. I like that.
For 1 or 2% of games, it's like there will be performance issues on the Switch that severely diminish it compared to the other consoles. But for 99% of games, if you played it on whatever and you play it on the Switch, it's the exact same experience, and like those scores definitely make sense to have grouped together. So I'm not quite sure how I'm going to handle that 1%, but the 99% will definitely be handled OpenCritic in the way they aggregate.
I love that. Yeah, maybe like an asterisk or something. But I love that. I think that's really cool. Very nice. All right, let me take a look. I think that opened up Xbox Game Pass. Thank you. That's helpful. Perfect. I'm a professional. I have a degree, but fantastic. We have that's there. So I was gonna ask, like, what's next for you in the immediate future of like Deku Deals or other things? You said implementing OpenCritic, things like that. Anything else you got coming up in the docket, or is that like the main thing?
Yeah, well, so the big thing that's happening in the next month or so is that someone else is joining the team to help me build Deku Deals.
That's fantastic.
it got sort of spiraled out of control, and it's like too much project for one person. And so I have a friend who I've been trying to get involved for a while, who's going to be teaming up with me to help build the site, and then another friend who's going to be helping me, not helping me is the wrong phrase. We're partners together in some community management, social media,
Nice.
data cleanup, all of that sort of stuff that someone will be super valuable.
Yeah.
And to a fault, Deku Deals is automated. Of like
That's
I
cool.
can I mean early last year, I had a kid brought into my household and
Yeah.
have a young child
Congratulations.
now that I'm caring for, and it was great to be able to take paternity leave from site and just like not look at it for a month, and it kept running, and the prices kept updating, else kept going out, and everything was hunky dory. But there's are lots of deals that aren't just as simple as price goes down.
Sure.
Like Target does lots of like buy two get one free deals
Yep.
that
Oh yeah.
I don't do anything with, and there's coupons and Amazon flash deals and you name it, and these sorts of things aren't caught in my automation. And so having somebody who's better at deal curation and spotting some of those, and then when the big eShop sales come along, also spotting what's worth paying attention to, what are things that are on sale that aren't often on sale or have come down to a new price that's very notable, or things like that. And so having a team member focused on that sort of stuff, I think will also be great and let me focus on doing the automating better so that that's better.
Yeah. I love that. I'm glad that you're growing the team and you've got some more people coming on to help out and make it the best service it can be. I guess one thing you mentioned that kind of sparked my curiosity. We're going right back into it for a little bit. You mentioned I don't know why I didn't think about this. It makes a lot of sense, but you mentioned you have a lot of data. That tracks. It's a website predicated on I don't know, tracking data. But how do you mess with said? I'm gonna call it big data. It's not the biggest data. It's still large data though. How do you go about like tracking said data? Do you have like some server? Is it all digital? Like what do you do with that?
Uh, I don't know. I have a database and I
Oh yeah, that tracks.
put the data in it.
Sure, as the database does.
It's not the biggest data. Like
Yeah.
if you think about how many
Yeah.
video game in the world of like, even if you took a very very broad meaning of that, there's a million, and that's like counting every flash game
Sure.
that's ever existed.
Sure. Not even close
But
to.
for
Yeah.
things you can actually play on a modern console is tens of thousands, and that's
Yeah.
just it's not a huge number to deal with.
Sure. That's true.
A lot of the complication comes down to like how do I you know link up the games across consoles and even across regions within a console.
Yeah.
So there's no unique identifier for this game is the same game as on one console or the other. So I link things up by names a lot of time, and there's typos and there's weird variants of things, and a lot of times the thing will have Switch Edition added to the end of its title on the Nintendo Switch, and I have to look into like is there something special about the Nintendo
Right.
Switch Edition, or did they just stick
say
that on there
Switch.
because and
Yeah.
um so really a lot of the complication around the data comes to these sort of like more humanistic things that are results of corporate processes at Nintendo and Sony and Microsoft
Sure.
that need manual reconciliation, or I mean games that have the same name as a previous game,
Oh.
those
Yeah.
always really annoying. So Prey 2017 and Prey 2006, like awful. Whatever the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare
That's
2 and the
awful.
previous Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2.
So toxic. And the
Yeah.
remaster.
uh, yeah, and sort of what is Master? So
Yeah.
there's the game Ni no Kuni
Great game.
that was originally released on PlayStation and Xbox.
Yep.
And then they did a remaster for PlayStation and Xbox, and there's a game called Ni no Kuni Remastered. But then they released the remastered version on the Switch, and it's just called Ni no Kuni without the remaster in
So
the name.
bad.
And just all sorts of things like this, like they take some human attention looking at these things. And actually, the hard part of dealing with this data is not the bigness of it, but
Yeah.
the messiness of it.
Yeah. No, I like that. I love that. That's fantastic. Thank you for that insight. I think that's great. Was there any particular Ni no Kuni sounds like a big one. Was there anyone in particular that you were just like, what is happening with this? Why is it like this?
Um, Yeah, there's some like obvious funky cases. So one is sort of the Telltale games and other sort of
Oh,
episodic games
good
where you
choice.
can uh, download episode one of the game as sort of the trial, and then buy episodes 2 through 5 as the full game.
Yep.
And the way the console stores have these classified is that episode one is a, and episodes 2, 3, 4, and 5 are part of a season pass that's technically a DLC for the
Yeah.
game. But really, when you think about it, you think of buying the season pass as buying the game, and episode one is just the trial. And
Right.
so the sort of the way players think about it and the way the console stores have it classified are actually like at odds there,
Hmm.
and twisting some of that to make more sense and appear sight in a way that is more intuitive, as opposed to just blindly trusting the console store's classification of it
Sure.
is tricky.
I like that. Yeah, because I do remember when, I mean, Telltale has had quite the history over the last couple of years, but I do remember it would be like download, I remember like even on my achievement tracking website, like True Achievements, it's got like the base game is 200 gamer score and every episode's like its own DLC. And I'm like, but that's, I guess, correct. That's not wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not right. That's interesting. I love that. That's fantastic. Well, thank you for talking all about Deku deals and your background as a software engineer and all that good stuff. One final question, really, really hard hitting one. Where can people find you? Where can they follow you, contact you if they want to reach out for said Deku content?
I mean, DekuDeals.com is the place to go.
There you go.
There's a Deku Deals Twitter account that I tweet at from like once a year. So
As you should.
follow that for, breaking updates. I'm actually part of having some new partners helping me out in this project is hopefully getting more proactive about community outreach, updates about what's going on, things like that.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to be better about that going forward. I also have my email address is at the bottom of every page. I already get too many emails, so please email me more so I can get even more emails. Love hearing from people about feature requests, partnerships, questions about how the site works, you name it. I respond to most of them, but occasionally get bogged down and some things slip through. So I'm sorry in advance if that happens to you. I also have Twitter for personal use. I'm Michael Fairley on that. Uh, Find the spelling on the show notes or whatever.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll link it all. We got you,
I
boss.
also don't tweet from that. I'm bad at Twitter. It's sort of a read only interface for me.
As it should be.
But love chatting with people if you have something interesting.